And hello. Welcome to the Absolute Football Podcast. It's time for another weekly roundup of everything in the Premier League. I hope you're all having a fantastic week. There's plenty of football going on as well in the background. And we'll come to our very nervous Liverpool supporter in a very short amount of time. But it's very lucky today to be joined by so many guests that we've got with us today. We'll start with Damon from the Talking Reds. Thank you for joining us, Damon. How are you doing? And tell us why you're a little bit nervy at the moment.
Well, it tested me about half an hour ago. I'm doing okay. Top of the league, looking good. Carabao Cup Final this week. Second leg of the semi-final of the last 16 of the Champions League, but now we're losing. I'm sort of, a different person right now to half an hour ago.
It'll be fine. It'll be all right. Plenty of time to go. Plenty of
time.
This is it. I'm brilliant to have you back on with us. And of course, wow, not one, not two, not three. They've come fully loaded. The Loaded Mag podcast, NUFC. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Of course, we've got a massive EFL Cup Final preview to be doing, which we'll get onto later on the show. But so we'll go one by one. Daz, how you doing? Thanks for joining the show.
Oh, thanks, Sam. Thanks for having us. I must admit I am enjoying this game, and the Liverpool are starting to crumble right at the right time for us. So as you just said off air there, if we went to extra time, we would not mind that so much. It gives us we're going to try and take all the little advantages we can, because it's going to be a difficult Sunday for us in the League Cup Final. But thanks for having us, Sam, and looking forward to having a bit of a chat.
You're absolutely welcome. Thank you for joining us. And of course, Pete, thank you for joining us as well. Another of our fantastic Newcastle fans. You must be excited this week as well.
Can't wait. Cannot wait for it all to kick off this weekend. It's you know what? It's really nice now with the Premier League out the way for a period of time that you can just focus on the Cup Final, because has been a bit of a distraction, not going to lie. But Sam, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for allowing us to come on and talk all things football with you. And looking forward to the chat.
Magic, you're welcome. Thank you again. And of course, Chris as well, to round off our fully loaded trio. How are you? Thanks for joining the pod.
All good, mate. Yeah, as I say, thanks very much, like the boys have said, for the invite, Sam. Much appreciated. And yeah, been looking forward to coming on and just gabbing Newcastle, Liverpool, Carabao Cups. Hopefully Newcastle winning. We'll see. But yeah, thanks very much for having us on, mate. Yeah, looking forward to the chat.
No problem at all. Should be brilliant. And of course, it's brilliant because we've got our wonderful chat as well. Sort of in Spinny fan Chris. He's been here. He's been ready. He's been ready since 10 to 8. He has. He's been keeping an eye on, because I say the Absolute Football Podcast, we cover all the lower leagues as well, and there's plenty of that going on tonight. So he's keeping the tabs on all the games going on for all of our teams, some of which are at the games as well. We've got Graham as well. Thank you, Graham, for joining us as well, a Charlton fan. So he's keeping us apprised of what's going on in the Charlton game. I think this is about 4 weeks in a row that you've had a Charlton game on a Tuesday, Graham. I thought you were going to sort that out and have a word with them, but we'll let you off for being here. We appreciate you being here as always, and confirms half time it's Crawley 0, Charlton 1 in our most important game update of the day. But so, talking of games that finished not too long ago, of course, Newcastle were Monday night this week, so we'll start there, obviously, away at West Ham United, 1-0 victory. So keeping them very much in the heights of the chances of Europe, which is a very tight race, which I'm sure we'll come on to. But Daz, if we start for you, how was that game for you from a Newcastle perspective?
I thought we'd never have to talk about it again. We did a review show last night. The first half wasn't pretty to watch, let's say. West Ham had 5 at the back and was trying to break them down. But we eventually did break them down. Of course, we have a few injuries, but we're just delighted that we didn't pick up any more, and no more suspensions or anything like that heading into that League Cup final. And most importantly, that we got the 3 points, and it keeps us in the hunt then for Champions League football and European football next season. So big games to come with 10 left now in the Premier League. So, but happy with the result, even though it wasn't pretty.
Sometimes the ones that aren't as pretty, you still have to get over the line as well. So
Exactly.
An important goal. Bruno Guimaraes, of course, the goal scorer for you. So Pete, how do you feel that was important for you in terms of the league form? And say, how are you feeling about your chances now with it so tight in those European places?
In terms of the league form, Sam, it was absolutely massive. I think we've said it the last 2 games now. Forest and West Ham being must-win games. They're the two that we've targeted in the last 3 and said we have to win these games. Doesn't matter how we win them, we just need to get points on the board. And thankfully for us, we have. For me, I actually thought Newcastle played well last night. I thought we looked pretty comfortable, never really under massive danger. Nick Pope hasn't really had the save to make, which, you know, when you're looking back at the game and the way it's kind of panned out, you're thinking actually it was pretty comfortable from a defensive point of view. And it was just a case of, can we get that goal? And luckily enough, Harvey Barnes and Bruno Guimaraes came together and produced a little bit of magic that won us the game. And what it does now, it just allows us to just take a breath. We've got 3 weeks now until we play next, or 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks until our next game against Brentford. And it just allows us to take stock of where we are in the league, look at the fixtures ahead, and, you know, by the time we next play, the Carabao Cup will be done and dusted. We can then fully focus on the league, and it's Project Champions League for us. That's the one that we want to get more than anything, but it's going to be tough, as you said. It's very tight in that league at the moment.
Do you think that break's going to be quite good for you, because you can sit back, obviously, depending how the results go, but you can kind of sit back, see how everybody else gets on, and you kind of know a little bit more, I suppose, of what you need to do when you get back?
Absolutely. You look at the games this weekend, you've got like Man City and Brighton. You know, Bournemouth have got a tough game. They're all teams around us. We're going to be watching with interest to see how they get on. And if they're able to drop points, it allows us to exploit that. And I think we're in a, you know, looking at our fixtures coming up, we're in a position of strength. We just need to make sure that we manage the injuries, get a good rest, and come back strong and really hit that second half of the season strong. But yeah, we've been in this position a few times, Sam, where we've played later on in the weekend or on a Monday, and we're looking at the rest of the results. So we're not new to it. But we just need to make sure we just do our business. We do our business, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, so you can keep that eye, and it'll be interesting how the table's looking for you when it comes back. And of course, Graham's here with his Charlton link as ever. Nick Pope, of course, made in Charlton.
Is Alan Kirby still there? He was always at Charlton, wasn't he? Back in the day.
Yeah.
He was indeed. And say Nick Pope's been sort of playing well for you as well. Chris, who's been the standouts for you in recent months? I think, say, from the neutral research, everyone's seen the impact of Tonali back into the side and kind of that form that he had start of the year. Who's been making the impact for you in recent weeks?
Well, disappointingly, Sam, the player who's been making probably the biggest impact is Lewis Hall. And now we've recently found out, you know, that he's out for the season. So that's really, really disappointing. It's great to have Joe Litton back in the middle. He missed a few games, so to have him back is going to be huge. But you know, I've got to talk about Alexander Isak. I have to. He's gone on a bit of a barren spell. I don't think he's scored for a couple of games now, but he is just so good. Like, I can't describe how good he is. And you know, he's been the highlight for me this season overall. Just it feels like he's gone to a new level this season, and really the sky's the limit. And it's just so important for us as a team, as a club, that we make sure that we try and get some sort of European football. We've spoke about it a lot on Loads of Mag NUFC, and you know, we're all dreaming of Champions League football naturally, because you know, we think that would give us a really good chance of keeping hold of the likes of Alexander Isak and other players. But you know, even if we were to get Europa League football, it would be a big help. And this is why it's so important that we keep these wins going and we keep that league form, you know, consistent, so that we can try and maintain ourselves in that top 5 come the end of the season. That's the key. But yeah, the big highlights for me this season, or big players, you know, who've made a big impact for me this season, are Lewis Hall and Alexander Isak.
Definitely, he's been absolutely on fire, and anybody who's had him in his dream team since the start of the season is very happy with his performances this year. I can certainly tell you. Is there obviously a worry? Does the Champions League, you said, does that mean more to you, Chris, with the fact that you're worried with the fact that Isak is getting so much attention from so many clubs? There's so many sides out there that will be looking for a striker in the summer and may well want to do something silly. Do you think that's as important to keep Isak for your development as much as the Champions League itself?
I think so. I mean, Champions League's important for us in terms of PSR, in terms of the club progressing. You know, it opens up other windows when you have Champions League qualification, because not only do you get more money coming in, but also you can attract players and keep your existing ones. So it's important from that point of view, but also it's important for the existing players. I mentioned then, about keeping hold of players. Alexander Isak wants to be playing Champions League football every year, and he probably deserves it as well. He's that good. He should be playing in the Champions League year in, year out. And what we don't want is for other clubs to come sniffing around them and being able to say, oh, you've only got Europa League, or you've only got Europa Conference, or you haven't got European football. We want to be playing in the best competitions so that we can keep the likes of Alexander Isak. And for me, it's looking like the coefficients, we're going to get the coefficient this year. I think that last time I seen it was like a 97% chance. It might have even increased. So it's looking like a top 5, and we're so close to that top 5, and it's key that we're in there come the end of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be very important, say, for the program, and to get back there, having had that fantastic run into it the last time you were there. Sort of Graham is saying everyone is into the anyone but City in terms of the top 5. Daz, will come to you. Where's the biggest threats do you see in terms of teams around you, or are you sort of fairly comfortable that you think you can pick a few of them off?
Where do you start there? Like, you could go from okay, Liverpool have won the league, obviously. Arsenal are trying to throw away second. Then from Nottingham Forest down, it's anyone really could appear in that top 5. Nottingham Forest, look at they're on fire, and we just came from a show where the chest is out from our Forest fan. He's saying that he's an easy run in, apart from a Villa in the last 10 games. So, but they could falter. We've been saying it the last number of weeks in our top table talk show that whoever can string together a series of results like we did earlier in the season, if you could do something like that, then that will be the telling difference, really. But it's the same for everyone, and everyone this season, everyone has tried to throw it away. It's been that type of a season, so it's really, really difficult to try and predict a team now who will run away with it. But it makes it interesting, I guess, for the neutrals, if there's neutrals out there, or everyone watching in as well. It's not just done and dusted by it. It'll go down to the wire, I think, for all these European positions, and also with the way with the English teams in European competition as well. If they are to win some of the competitions, even Liverpool tonight, if they stay in the Champions League, it opens up all other places for others as well. So it's just really, really interesting, I guess. So let's hope we're in the mix.
It's a great battle. It's a great battle for sure. Welcome to Sean as well. Sean's joining us in. Thanks for joining us, Sean. He says Forest are champions in his eyes. I'm not sure Damon will agree with that. The champions will be the champions, I think he'll probably say. But as well, I would say that Cheltenham Link, of course, with that going on, Arsenal are going to come third in the 2-horse race. It does seem they've got bored of the title race and they want to get involved in this fun European battle that's happening below, for sure. So, I mean, Pete, do you think Arsenal could get dragged into it? They're another team you're looking at, thinking maybe we can drag them in. I mean, they've not got a striker. You certainly have.
Yeah, and we've heard all season about the fact that they want our striker. We're done with that nonsense speculation for one season. But look, I've got to be honest, Sam. I wouldn't be surprised to see Arsenal get dragged into that top 4 race, and the reason being is because, as been mentioned already, the league's done. Like, Liverpool will win the league. It'll probably be by the end of April that they'll be confirmed as champions. I'm absolutely assured of it, and I think Arsenal know it. I think you look at Arteta's reaction, not answering the question, storming off after the game against Man United. It all kind of like gives you the impression that he knows that was it on Sunday. That was it. Not getting that win at Old Trafford has almost kind of ended any chances of them winning the league. So what you might well see is a full focus on the Champions League. How far can we go? Can we push it and get as close to the final as possible? And with that, what you might then start to see is a shift in mentality, where it was all like proper siege mentality for the Premier League. You might see them start to drop points. Let's face it, without a striker and without that attacking focal point, they're just not the same team. they don't look like that. Man United team is not good. And apologies, Sam. But Man United it really isn't. Like, it is, as Amarim said, it's the worst team that you probably had in the last 30 plus years. And so for them to really kind of look pretty comfortable in the most part and never look like conceding, and only really conceding a fantastic strike, it tells you everything you need to know about Arsenal more so than anything. And, you know, other teams are going to play against Arsenal. Chelsea, they've got next at their place. Chelsea are potent. They can score goals. And, you know, a couple of losses and a couple of wins for the likes of us and Forest and Man City, Chelsea beat them. Chelsea will be pulling them in. It's not out the realms of possibility that they could drop enough points where they drop out of the Champions League, because it is that tight. And teams are that inconsistent. But look, whether we can catch them, I'm not quite sure. But look, if we're close enough, it means that we're right in the right positions, which is, you know, within the Champions League mark, because that's just, we need financially for the team to build and grow and develop, for the revenues and the accounts and all that stuff that we're not normally caring about, but all of a sudden we are now caring about, and it's all so important. We need it. That's the reality of it.
That's the key. Absolutely it is. So we'll come back on to Man United Arsenal a bit more later. But so my general view of it was they're so toothless up front. Moved the ball really well into that final third, but there's just that was it. As you said, there's a poor United team at the minute with again sort of makeshift defence in a few positions, and weren't really troubled despite the sort of dominance at times Arsenal had the ball in our opposing area. So just couldn't find a way through. So it really does give you guys that hope they're going to get dragged in. City are a strange one, and say again that the sort of result that they had against Forest. So there's certainly plenty of opportunities. So one more on Newcastle before we'll come back around, of course, and we come to the EFL Cup Final at the end. But so Chris, I saw an interesting stat today. Bruno Guimaraes, most fouled player in the Premier League, it said this 92, which is over 30 more than the next player, which is also Anthony Gordon and Mateus Cunha with 58. That's quite a skill he's got, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know what? I funnily enough, Sam, I heard that last night on the commentary, and it doesn't surprise me at all. I often tell my my red and blue mates all about it, because they get very frustrated with Bruno. He's got this skill where he gets his body in front of the player, and as soon as he feels any contact, he's down. And do you know what? It sounds really basic, but it is a real skill. And he wins us back possession so often. Not only does he win back possession, but he also takes the pressure off. It allows the players, you know, to just kind of take a breather and go, right, reset, get back in position. And it's a real big strength for Bruno's, and he's so good at it. He knows exactly, you know, how to manipulate situations to benefit not just himself but also the team. He's very, very good at it.
He certainly is. And so the goal and the bonus, he'll be taking that into Sunday. But so we'll move on for Newcastle for the time being. Damon, I hope you appreciate I've managed to give it you to half time to wait till we come in on Liverpool. So hopefully you'll be a little bit more settled for 15 minutes before, I'm sure, the second half will break loose at Anfield in the Champions League. So obviously in terms of the fixture list and what you had last weekend, probably a fixture that everybody had down as about a bank or home win as you could get. But you think that was kind of a little bit undoing in terms of the shock was almost on the cards at half time. How did you feel that Liverpool approached that game?
A little bit complacent. Yeah, it was Southampton. We got the win in the end, but we can't enter games like that. And you know what? We've been the last few months, bar the Newcastle game and in the City game, we've been poor. We've been poor in a lot of games, but we've seen to get the job done. That first half against Southampton were just dreadful, absolutely dreadful. We couldn't get anything, we couldn't create anything, we couldn't losing the ball for simple passes. Second half got a little wind behind him. Arneslot must have got into him at half time. You could tell they got into him at half time. Not really amazing second half, but we didn't have to be amazing. No, it's been disrespectful to Southampton, but we didn't have to be amazing. You know, the talented players that we've got get us through the game. Won the penalty. But yeah, it's just been. I think it's just been a grind. It's just been a grind for Liverpool, and it's been like that for the last few months. Like I said, like we had some poor performances. Wolves we beat Wolves, but we were poor in that game. Probably didn't deserve to win that game. Villa, Everton, Plymouth. just all these performances have rattled on. The only good performance I can remember in the last few months really was Newcastle and the midweek game and Man City. That's the only ones, and I just think I'm glad Arsenal are chasing us. Because if it was a different team chasing us, it might be a different story right now.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that's been looking at it, say through the eyes of, can there be a title race? Is there somebody? This is the problem. There is just nobody that can put that consistent run together to, I think, to even worry. So as you said, even though the performance haven't quite been there, you're still picking up more points than the teams below you are when you're not probably at the peak of your season in terms of the way that you perform. So it's just, and maybe, do you think maybe that's part of it because they haven't got that? Also, you haven't got someone chomping at the bit behind you. The intensity's hard to keep the same because you're thinking, oh, we must win, and then you're like, oh yeah, but they've already dropped points. So do you think there's a bit of that going on?
Possibly, because the reason why City and Liverpool were so good at getting 90 plus points is because each other were pushing each other to the limit. Like I've always said, look, if it won Man City, say people say Man City cheated, but if it won for Man City cheating, we would never reach the levels that we did. I don't think. Because we never had someone that pushed us all the way we did. We wouldn't have got 90 plus points. It wasn't that 90 plus points thing was like an anomaly. It wasn't a regular thing. It wasn't how Premier League usually works. But because we had two elite teams pushing each other right to the edge, where you couldn't drop any points at all, now it's sort of gone back to normal, where the Premier League is sort of like 70, 80 points to win it, 80 plus points to win it. And yeah, we just haven't had anyone really push us. Arsenal have had chances to push them. I mean, that West Ham game for Arsenal was the perfect time to put pressure on us. We'd drawn to Villa midweek. We looked like we were going to drop off. We had Man City at the weekend away. Tough game. If they beat West Ham that Saturday, that pressure on the Man City game is completely different. But I went to that Man City game thinking, if we lose today, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. So imagine the players thinking that. They're relaxed. That will get into the players. They're relaxed about the situation, and it just seemed I've never felt a title race like this in my life. I've never. It's so relaxed. It's really strange. It's really strange. Really strange.
It's super so bizarre how it's kind of turned out when you think of sort of how close the last couple of seasons have kind of been with say Liverpool were up there until the back part of last season, and so I imagine if we look at the title race as a whole though, like beyond your wildest of dreams to be where you are. I mean, I suppose with Arne Slot everyone was kind of going, oh, how's this, the team's still the same but change over from Klopp to Slot, and I suppose maybe your expectations have sort of got higher somehow out of all of that. How surprised are you by what you're witnessing in terms of the season?
I think someone would be lying if they said they wasn't surprised. I think it'd just be a blatant lie. If I'm honest, everyone, including Liverpool fans, thought at best, third. I predicted third because I didn't think we'd drop off because we've got the same team. I don't think anyone behind us was better than us last season, and I don't think anyone behind us would be better this season. I predicted Arsenal to win because I thought City might drop off a little bit, but I didn't expect Arsenal to play like they did this season either. I think we have took advantage of two teams dropping off, certainly, but we've certainly deserved to win this league. If we do win this league, we've thoroughly deserved it. But yeah, I am surprised that we're top of the league right now and how clear we are. Like I said, like in 2020, when we won it in 2020, we were 25 points clear at Christmas before COVID hit. I was less relaxed then than I am now. 25 points clear was. I was less, just because it was a City side behind us, and that's just the way it is at the moment. I think like these guys are saying, look, I think it'll be done by April. Guard of honour from Arsenal. It's seeming to set up. That's what it's seeming to set up to be. But winning for Chelsea and guard of honour from Arsenal, it'll be a beautiful thing to see. But yeah, I'm surprised, but yeah, it's just all the credit to Slot though. All the credit to Slot what he's done this season.
Yeah, it has been magnificent. So how far away they are, and say I'm with you. I think the lead extends. I don't see it getting reduced. I think it extends in terms of where they are. We'll go around the sort of table to our Newcastle lads as well. Daz, how have you made of Liverpool this season, and what's impressed you about Slot's side?
Just the way he's just came in and seamlessly he's made them better. It's not that, like you would have thought maybe there might be a bit of a rebuild that might need to happen when he comes in, but no, he just, and at the start I remember we were all just waiting for the bubble to burst. and it never happened. Now, saying that into as I said already, they've got the League One. Hopefully, they are getting complacent now, and we can nip in on Sunday and pull it off a surprise. But will they need a rebuild next year? Like the Salah with his contract, Trent Alexander-Arnold as well. Doesn't know what's happening with him. Van Dijk. There's a lot of moving parts there. Now it'll probably all get sorted for them, and they'll kick on again. But I think there'll be some big decisions to be made there come the summertime. But no, I have been really impressed, and they do deserve it. So hats off to them on winning the league. But yeah, hopefully that's all they win.
This is it. One eye on Sunday at all times, absolutely. And a good point. We'll come back to Damon actually on that. In terms of the contracts, Damon, I know it's difficult to. Yeah, it's been probably the one downside, should we say, that's been a constant talking point with the Liverpool sides. What's the latest? I think you also got Van Dijk, Salah, Trent all out of contract. What of it? Virgil looks like it's probably Salah possibly, and Trent may be the one that could be the question mark. What's the latest you're hearing on the contract side?
I think it's always been the same throughout this contract saga. I think all Liverpool fans, same 99% of us, have probably accepted that Trent's gone. If he does turn around, then fair enough. That's a big boost for us. Salah and Van Dijk, the ones likely to stay. But under this ownership, I always prepare for the worst, right? I know how they don't want to change their ways a little bit, but they need to change their ways a little bit regarding certain things, a little bit of help in the transfer window now and then as well. That's why I've got to prepare myself for the worst. All three going. If all three go, then it's going to be hard to build on. And when that happens, then if all three do go, you got the likes of Kanate already looking at his situation with his contract, thinking, why am I staying here? If we're not willing to build on what we've won, because we are going to win the league, we're not willing to build on what we've won, then why am I staying here? And so Kanate's looking at his contract, thinking, hang on a second, let's leave it out. It could be a big knock-on effect if we lose these three, a big knock-on effect, and we need to sort them out ASAP. It's just the lack of transparency, I think, from the club that's frustrating everyone. We don't know what's going on, and it is frustrating. Luckily, it hasn't really gone out onto the pitch, which is brilliant. I thought it might have done. It might have spilled onto the pitch, but it hasn't done, and I don't think it matters anyway with Arsenal chasing us anyway. It could have spilled onto the pitch, we would clear of them anyway. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating. You'll have Liverpool fans and Liverpool fans out there that are not willing to talk about it. They don't like negativity when we're top of the league. But at the end of the day, you've got to talk about everything. If there's an elephant in the room, you've got to talk about it. Those contracts, I'm already celebrating I'm already celebrating winning the league. But the back of here, there's still that in the back of my mind. I'm thinking there's still a little bit of a worry there on that, and I can't lie about that.
I think that's a football fan. You can't ever not be. There's always something. There's always something that's not quite right. I'm sure that when people have won trebles, etc. in the past, there's always that. But next season there's this and this is happening, and you can't help it.
Boring.
It would be boring. Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah.
People don't like to be happy. There's always something that they need to find to pick a hole in for sure. But we'll come back to Liverpool as well for the EFL Cup Final a bit later on. So just go around a few of the other Premier League games, obviously, that were on this weekend. Pete, I'll come to you first with one. If you caught it on Sunday, Tottenham 2, Bournemouth 2. Tottenham were doing their thing with Bournemouth ripping them apart, but then they came back into it, and Kepa Arrizabalaga came storming out of his net, and the rest is history. What did you make of Spurs and Bournemouth joined 2-2?
I'm not gonna lie, it was a result that I was not expecting. I'll take it all day long because we wanted Bournemouth to drop points because they are well in the mix with us, but it just never looked likely. At one point, you wouldn't have been wrong for predicting a 3-4, 5-0 Bournemouth win. They were just attacking at will. It was crazy. They looked like the home team, and you could see the frustration on the Tottenham fans' faces. But a stroke of luck with Sarr, with the cross shot that goes in, it inspires them and gives a little bit of hope. But I tell you what, Kepa is an absolute madman for what he did. If that was one of our goalkeepers that was doing that, we would have hit the roof off the back of dropping points to that, going nowhere. the ball's running out of play, if anything, and Son's eyes must have just lit up like Christmas trees at that point, just because like a goalkeeper coming out there was just so unnecessary, and it's just gifted them a way back into the game. And actually, I think they might have even had a chance to potentially win it after that. It was crazy, and it knocked the stuffing out of Bournemouth. When that penalty was given, you could see the players almost just deflate, and that moment there can be something that turns a season. And them not picking up those points there, and now looking up the table and having a few more points to kind of claw back, to be back in that conversation again, it could well take the stuffing out of them. So it'd be interesting to see how they react to that. But Tottenham got very, very lucky. As a Newcastle fan, I'll take it. But yeah, Bournemouth have got some very, very, very technically good players. And they are assembling a very, very technically gifted football team. But that could be their downfall, because there's a potential that their players could get absolutely dismantled in the summer. And there's already reports on that. But a really good game from a neutral point of view, just to see the fume of the Tottenham fans and the quality of the Bournemouth performance. But yeah, it's one of them that you just would have never put it would end up as a 2-2.
No, exactly that. Bournemouth, as you said, so many good technical attacking, and the link up between them is so good. You know, even Evan Nilsson's been out for a few games and straight back in, and you could see the link up. And I think that it was a shame to an extent because of the offside for the Kluivert one that was disallowed, because it was an absolutely fantastic sort of piece of technical play to score there for Bournemouth. And as you said, Tottenham, off the back of that European result the previous week as well. I mean, Ange isn't far from many people's discussions, Chris. Ange is always on the lips in terms of manager issues, etc. Do you think if obviously they've got a massive game in Europe coming up on Thursday, can you see? I mean, everyone's been asking, would it be the semi-final in the EFL Cup against Liverpool? Would it be this? Would it be this? Do you think they'll pull the trigger with Ranch? Because it's getting pretty. The noises out of Tottenham are not very good at the moment.
No, they're not. They're not. I think, to be honest, my general feeling now is, we were just talking about it on the channel with one of our guests, Saba, and he thinks, and correct me if I'm wrong, boys, but he thinks that Ange could go if Tottenham don't progress against, is it AZ Alkmaar they've got on yeah. But I don't know. I think he would have done it by now. I think he would have done it. And I'll be honest, you know, if they were to, this is the thing. Sometimes you've got to take a step back, haven't you, and look at the overall situation as a neutral. If they were to get rid of Ange tomorrow and bring in a new guy, like, yes, you know, they would be in a better position for next season. But in terms of right this moment, what's the new guy going to do in the next 10 games? They're not getting near Europe. No. They're just not. And I think, for me, I think they need to shake hands with him and get rid of him as soon as the last ball's kicked. It's the last game of the season. Get rid of him. That's when they should get rid of him. The worry, which Saba, who I mentioned earlier, the worry is if Ange, you know, keeps his promise in his second year and wins a trophy. Because if they win that Europa League and then qualify for the Champions League the following season, Ange isn't going anywhere. And don't get me wrong, I can't see it. But stranger things have happened, and this has been one of the weirdest Premier League seasons this season. And wouldn't it just be ironic if Spurs were to go and win the Europa League, qualify for the Champions League, and then they keep hold of Ange? That would kind of sum up the season for me.
It would. With Arsenal dropping into Europa League places just as they see Tottenham win it as well, would just be the most craziest end to a very, very crazy season. And so we touched on it there with Bournemouth having a crazy season, Damon. How have you been impressed with Bournemouth, and which of that attacking quality, which one of those is your favourite?
Oh, Semenyo is absolutely unreal. If Salah were to go, he would certainly be one of the players I'd be looking at. Absolutely, the power and the pace and the eye for goal, and the way he cuts inside and brings other players in as well. I love that. I love that kind of team player. I think he'd suit us down to the ground, if I'm honest. But yeah, Bournemouth have just been tactically fantastic. He's got them absolutely ticking. They're a very scary outfit. I mean, we beat them away, but it wasn't a game that I mean, they absolutely had big chances. They hit the bar, I think, twice against us, hit the post once. They're a very, very scary attack. If they can keep the players, it's going to be hard though, innit, for them to keep the players. Like the Kirkes linked with us, so many other players are going to be looking at that. Clivert's people are going to be looking at him. It's going to be hard for them to keep the players, but if they get Europe, then they fully deserve it, if I'm honest. Absolutely deserve it.
Yeah, very good. Kirkish is a very interesting one because you say you're very much in the market for a left back this summer. So there'll be a few others, I'm sure, that will be wanting to sort of tempt the waters. Because it's probably difficult to name a more consistent left back this season than Kirkish. He's certainly in that conversation when you're talking probably team of the year. When you look at some of the other teams up there that have performed well, he's been absolutely superb. Moving on to the next one that kind of got. I suppose it got glossed over a little bit because of other stuff that was happening this weekend. Nottingham Forest went and beat Manchester City, and it's probably as much credit as you can give Forest that everybody went, okay, yeah, that's I can see that. That's good, and I don't think it got as much coverage as it needed to get. I come to you, Pete, with the Nottingham Forest one. Like they seem like they belong at the moment there. The results they've been putting together and a very smart 1-0 victory. I know Manchester City struggling this season, but they picked up a little bit. So Forest are probably one you're looking at going, that's probably one of the tougher asks that sit above you, isn't it?
Absolutely. Everyone's been talking about Nottingham Forest saying, oh, they're going to fall away. They're going to drop points. They're going to drop out the top four. And everyone's been talking about it in the media, journalists, opposition fans, and they just keep plugging away and picking up results. They drop off, have a few bad results. We beat them. I can't remember who else had beat them, but I think one or two other teams had put them to the sword, and you think, right, that's it, they're done, and they just keep coming back. And that win on Saturday, early kickoff, almost sort of solidified the fact that they're going to get Champions League for me. A big game, big moment in the season. And they come up trumps against a Man City team which had pretty much everyone available to them that they've got available to play. So there's no excuses there. They had the likes of De Bruyne, they had the likes of Foden, they had Nico, their new signing, Mamouche as well. Haaland was playing, so there's no excuses there, and they still managed to beat them and pick up a clean sheet off the back of it as well. And you just got to give massive credit to Nottingham Forest for what they're doing. I do see some similarities in what they did to what we did a couple of years ago when we got Champions League football, in that we had sort of the same question marks thrown at us, but we kept chugging away and picking up results and playing good football. And yeah, I do see those similarities there, and they've got that grit and that determination, that doggedness to win a game like that 1-0 and really see out the game and take a moment when it comes. And they're the kind of wins that will take you to Champions League football. And from a personal point of view, from a Newcastle point of view, but we do look at Forest as a team that if we are going to get top four, forget top five for a second, top four, we'd have to claw them away. But they just keep finding a way. We get close, we get to 3 points or 1 point, and then they win again, and the gap just keeps getting bigger, and the games are getting less and less now. So it's going to become a point where they are going to get out of reach if we can't get close enough there sooner.
Breaking news.
It's offside, mate. It's offside.
That was a quick change, that. That was a quick change, that.
Chris pumping head in hands.
Offside.
But yeah, Liverpool are definitely turning the screw now, that's for sure, beginning the second half. But yeah, Nottingham Forest, superb. I don't see them not getting Champions League football. I just can't put where they're going to finish in the top four. I don't see them finishing outside the top four personally, but fair play to them. They're playing some really, really good stuff right now.
Yeah, fabulous season. And so, while very close to a goal for Liverpool, we will. Spenny fan Chris is our video printer in the chat. You will have noticed he's keeping us apprised of everything that's going on through the leagues, all of the people we have. But we will highlight one because our very own Charlotte is there today. It's her birthday today. So, happy birthday to Charlotte. And Rochdale have scored. The mighty Dale, get in the Dale. It's a buzzing for Char. Birthday goal for her that they lead at the moment. So, there we go. Very good for them. Chris, on Manchester City, I'll pull this comment up here because Graham's asked, are they really that one-man team? Is Rodri all the difference? How much of a difference? Obviously, they've bought quite a few players in January and it started to improve a little bit. But is Rodri that much of an impact as to why the reason is they've dropped off?
Before I answer that, Sam, I've got to say I'm a bit disappointed with Spenny fan Chris. Great name, Spenny fan, but I'm waiting for the update from the Stadium of Light. That's all I'm going to say. Hopefully he's going to give us that update on the Stadium of Light, because I've been waiting for it on the video printer and it hasn't appeared. And I'm waiting for the update. But no, to answer the question, I think Rodri's a massive miss, isn't he? Obviously, Ballon d'Or winner, super player. But let's not forget, like, when you look across their team, their squad, like, they should be able to cope with missing Rodri. Rodri's a huge player, but it's like the equivalent of, you know, Liverpool losing a Salah, Arsenal losing a Saka. You would expect them to still have enough. I just feel like with Manchester City this season, unfortunately, there's been I don't know whether it's a mentality change or whether players have reached the peak, and there's a cluster of them, but they've all reached the peak at the same time, and obviously it's had an impact. Thank you very much, Spenny fan Chris.
That score was never in doubt. Never in doubt.
I don't know what it is, Sam, but again, it just kind of it kind of sums up the season, really, doesn't it? Because I know that City had a bit of a wobble, but as fans, you know, of other teams, we all expected City, you know, to get back on the bandwagon, sort things out, get back on the straight and narrow, and they just keep floundering. Apart from when they play Newcastle, which was great. You know, they certainly put us to the sword, and then they went back to dropping points again, which is very disappointing. But yeah, Rodri's a massive miss, Sam. But I think it's deeper than that. I think there's a number of players that they need to move on in the summer, and I believe they will. And they've already started recruiting quite a few in January. And from what we're led to believe, they're going to do even more in the summer as well.
Yeah, they're at that point, aren't they? That kind of transition element. And I suppose it's the other thing as well is they've not been in this situation for, you know, it's been 4 years of winning a title. They've been going for every big trophy that's there out there. And so now they're suddenly faced with the rest of their season is effectively an FA Cup that's left, you know, no Champions League, no Premier League. You know, can they get themselves up for the fight for the top four? It's difficult for those players that have won so much to suddenly be like, that's what we're fighting for. Daz, do you think there's a possibility they could drop out the top four? As you said, that as Chris said, that the consistency seems to be, as soon as you think they're getting back, then they seem to wobble again.
No, I think they'll kick on. They'll secure a Champions League place next season. They'll get third. If not past Arsenal now. If Arsenal go the other way, if the way they're going. But it is interesting, just kind of following on from what Chris was saying there, because there before our game, we had a preview of the Man City game. We had three Man City fans, three different fan channels, and they were only after bringing in a few players in January, and I said, "Is that your recruitment done?" And they said, "No, they plan to bring in 7 or 8 more." So at the time we were struggling to bring in one player. So it's ridiculous. So a bit of a rebuild going on at Man City. And yes, Chris also said that they have the plan to sell a few as well, recoup a bit of cash, and then go again. So big changes at City, and then they'll be back and out in force again, which Damon won't want to hear, but it is what it is.
Well, this is it. You would fully. I mean, Damon, are you expecting that next season that they're going to be back at it again? You think this is the one season blip, and you're dealing with the City you faced in the past?
Yeah, I think they'll be back. I don't know about the City we faced in the past. That sort of 100+ points team. I don't know about that, but yeah, they'll be back. Pep Guardiola don't take it lightly. I mean, look, like he's already said, like Daz said, in January they were meaning business. They bought Mamouche, Gonzalez, sensational signings, by the way, and that's what they need. And people complaining like, why are they signing all this? Like, Pep needs all this money to rebuild it, but he needed it. He can't keep going with what he's seen on the pitch, but what he's seen on the pitch is not good enough. So he's got to change it up. He's got to do that. Like I said, De Bruyne possibly going. He's come to an end of it. Foden needs to wake up a little bit. But you mentioned about Rodri earlier. I think it just shows the importance of a DM. You know. It shows the importance of DM because we've been saved this season by Gravenberch. We didn't go out and buy them, which we should have done. We still should, by the way, because Gravenberch is an 8. But because Gravenberch is that good, he'd be able to switch and alternate into a DM this season. It saved us. Without Gravenberch this season, without a DM, we might not be top. And that's the importance of that position. That position gets so overlooked, it's ridiculous. And Rodri's also the best in the world at it. So to lose that position and being Rodri, then I won't say it's a one-man team, but I think it's more the position than actually losing Rodri himself, if that makes sense.
Are you going to go for Zubimendi again, Damon?
It depends if we get some mountains around Liverpool or not. Really, yeah. a few barista bars. I don't know. Whatever he needs. I don't know. I'd love to. He's a very, very good player. But there's talk about Arsenal accepting, weren't they?
I thought he was
talk about Arsenal going
Arsenal.
Yeah. So
in January.
And when I did speak to Lewis Steele, who was close to Liverpool, a Liverpool reporter, he did say that look, we're not because we have been hurt by him doesn't mean I'm not going to go back for him because he was a number one target. So I don't know with this board and this ownership. So I hope so. Certainly we need Gravenberch needs help anyway. Put it that way.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say because I remember being at the start of the season. So when we sort of had Josh was with us on the pod, and he was talking about he was crying out for a number 6, saying we need that. That's the position we need. We cannot go into this season because at that stage nobody no one would have seen what Gravenberch did this season and fitting into that role, as you said. So it was almost we have to get to Zubimendi, and it didn't happen, and everyone was kind of like, well, Slot's come in and Liverpool haven't done anything for him. They haven't given him any kind of help. I mean, the squad's done amazing with what you've got, and the reality is Liverpool haven't spent yet under Slot. They haven't improved that team from the season that's passed. So as you say, like a 6 going in, and then depending on what happens with these contract situations, then there's going to be a bit of a free up if say Trent does go from that perspective. Then you'd hope that they could do something, and obviously depending how this Champions League one goes, how's it going currently in the second half?
It's all Liverpool now. It's all Liverpool. It's just their defender's just unbelievable. It's literally both off the block. That Pacho is brilliant. Yeah.
He's superb. He is absolutely.
So we'll keep our eyes as that one gets to the very thrilling finale that I think we're probably heading for. We've got one more game before we sort of would have a look at generally what happened in some of the other games that was there. We do have to talk about as much as I try to avoid at the moment. Manchester United won, Arsenal won. It wasn't a defeat, it wasn't a disaster, which is about as positive as I could take at the moment. I think from a Manchester United perspective, a very. I think a difficult sort of slow sort of first half where Arsenal probably got on top, but actually in the second half, United created quite a few chances and probably would have felt unlucky not to maybe get more from it. We'll start with you this time, Chris, in terms of the Manchester United Arsenal. From the Manchester United perspective, do you think it's kind of have to accept where the position is at the minute and kind of take performance on performance? Because I found myself watching, I think it was the Fulham game in the FA Cup. And there was a bit going, actually, this is a bit better. It's a bit better. I watched him, and then I took a step back and went, my expectations just on the floor. That's what happens. This isn't better at all. This is just awful football. But do you think there's a bit of that, and certainly patience is going to need to be required just to get through to the end of the season?
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. I think Man United fans have just got to try and write this season off. That's certainly my opinion, anyway. I mean, Amorim needs time. I know that's a bit of a cliche response, but. He was never going to work miracles. I think the biggest criticism I could aim at Amorim, which I know other people in the media have as well, is the fact that he came in with his own idea, his own plan, which is brilliant. But these players, I think, are struggling to execute that plan. Now, long term, it will probably help because he will eventually get the players in that he wants. He will be able to play the football he wants. But I just think at times he's been quite stubborn. And, rather than looking at the team and thinking, right, who are the 23, 24, 25 players in front of me, what can I do in order to get the results on the pitch? I do feel like he's kind of been like, well, this is how I play. I'm going to play how I play because this is how I play. But the players, I don't think he's got the correct players at his disposal. The biggest worry for me and Amorim going forward is, Man United fans, to a degree, I think we'll give them a bit of leeway, but they're going to expect big things next summer. Next season. They're going to expect a huge summer, and then next season they're going to expect things to improve. And if they don't, and they start off very similar to how they are this season, I think the Wolves could come calling very, very early on in the season. And then obviously it's a question for Jim Ratcliffe. It's a question for Ineos, for the Glazers. Are they then going to go, have we got the wrong guy? Do we need to replace him as well? And they can't just keep sacking staff and managers. They just can't keep doing it. And this is the difficulty. I mean, Sam, you'll probably be able to kind of, come back to me on this. But like the mad thing is for me, having watched Man United in the last year or so, I look at your team and I look at the lineup, and normally with Man United, you go, oh, I'd love him. He'd be great. Oh, I'd love him in the team. Oh, he'd be fantastic. I struggle to look at your team now and think I'd love, more than say 2 or 3 players. And that's completely, unusual to me. Like I've always looked at Man United teams and think, oh, I wish we had him. I wish we played like Man United. I wish we won trophies like Man United. And it just feels like the drop-off's been so big. And I think, there's a long journey to go through. There's a lot of pain to go through. And to be fair to Amram, he's come out and he's been very vocal about that. I just hope that they give him the time. And I hope that he has the summer that, he needs. And I hope the board back him. Because unless you bring in, for me, 3, 4, 5 players, probably more 4, 5, 6 players, really, it could be more of the same next season. And that's what worries me.
Yeah, I think the thing is with Amram, as you said, and I completely agree with the players that we've got on. We're playing teams where I'm looking at Bournemouth's front three, going, yes, please. Like, when could you ever sort of say that in the past? You just got. I mean, you look at the other night, and there was only 2 people that you'd recognise on the bench, really. We've got one of them is Rasmus Højlund, who's not scored in 17 games. We have got injuries, but the squad is thin because we had to let people go in terms of loans and the January. My worry for the summer and for next season is there's still so much. I think Jim Radcliffe spoke about it yesterday. There's still so much of these transfer fees that we've got to pay off from the deadwood that aren't even at the club anymore. Some of them, I think he said £89 million they've got to write a check for in the summer, which is basically Anthony, Casemiro, Sancho. So they're in. So this sort of this Calvary that I think some of the fans are hoping it comes this summer. I just cannot see where that comes from because they're going to have to be smart, which we haven't been recruitment wise for a long time in terms of the deals that we get done. There's going to have to be some that come through from the youth. They're going to have to move. They've got some big players to move on, that are on horrendous contracts and are difficult to get moved on. So I think it's a challenge. I mean, with the Amorim thing, I think they will stick with him. It was interesting watching the interview yesterday that there was 2. I think he did one with Gary Neville, he did one with BBC Sport, where Radcliffe was kind of talking about sticking the respect he has and how much he likes Amorim as a young coach. And he was making a comment saying he's not got 3 of his top, 3 of the top wage earners aren't available to him, in terms of you've got Rashford being one. Anthony was on that list in there. He was naming all the players that he's not had available to him. They spent £60 million on Mason Mount. He's played about 3 times in the last 2 years. All these kind of things. As you said, like he's come in playing this style and the stubbornness, I think that's frustrated the fans because we're like, look, we get you have this style and we want to back you with this new style, but we don't have any players at the minute. We've got to try and cobble something together to get some points and get some kind of momentum. I'm interestingly seeing how Thursday goes against Sociedad. They've looked better in Europe. Europe suits us a bit better. A bit more time allows us to play the system a little bit better. And I hope if nothing else, even if we don't, I'm not expecting United to be winning the Europa League this year, but it gives us more chance to kind of try that style out in a less fearful environment than the Premier League, where I think you can get punished a little bit more because of the time on the ball for the way we're trying to play. So, there's an awful lot. There's an awful lot to put wrong, and it just seems like every sort of way you turn, there's something nonsense kind of around the corner for United. You said we just want to get to the end of the season and see where that leaves us, but. Graham, of course, taking his shots like ever. Sam took a step back, just like the ref measuring the wall. That's just our tape measure, Graham. Like everything else at Old Trafford, it's a bit slightly wonky and not quite what it used to be. So it's probably just extended, left out in the sun or something, I think maybe. But never mind. Talking of that free kick, Pete will come to you from an Arsenal perspective. Obviously, there was a lot said about it. The additional 1.2 yards. I mean, Arsenal have obviously made a big deal about it. What's your take on it?
I thought it was poor from Arsenal, to be fair, to allow that space. You would expect a team that seems to be as well drilled as Arsenal to be certainly managing that situation better. You could tell on the pitch that they were too far away, and as a player that plays regularly, and those players are normally in that ball to block it, a big physical team, they should be looking at that and thinking, nah, this is too far away. But I have to look at the goalkeeper. David Raya, if you look at his starting position where he was way too over on his right-hand side. And, had he had taken another step to the left before the kick had been taken, he probably gets to it. Because if you look at the way, it struck with venom. It's a lovely free kick. We know what Bruno Fernandes's technical ability is, but that goes in like 2 or 3 yards inside the post. That's not in the postage stamp. That's not in the stanchion. It's not that type of free kick. You're looking at a free kick that could have and probably should have at least got a hand to it, possibly even saved. And I just think it was poor goalkeeping, poor management from the wall all round. It was just poor from Arsenal, if I'm honest with you. And I have to say, Man United, I thought were the better team. I thought I spoke to a few Man United fans after that game, and they were visibly frustrated by the fact that they didn't win the game. And that's not like Man United in the way you've been playing, particularly against some of the bigger teams recently at the top end of the table. But you should have been absolutely frustrated that you didn't win that, because you created enough big chances to win the game. And to be fair, David Raya kind of redeemed himself with some big saves in the second half to keep them in the game. But you should have absolutely won that. And, I should be saying to you, Sam, take some heart from that. Good performance, playing well at Old Trafford, doing well. Take that into the next few games. Well, Man United, you could turn up at the King Power in the next game and end up losing 2-1 to Leicester, and you're right back where you were before. And that's been the problem of Man United all season, is where you think they maybe have turned the corner. You think, here they go. They just go right back down again. And that, unfortunately, is the situation that you're in. For me, just to kind of wade in on the Amorim talk, I think Sir Jim is played a big risk with signing Amorim when he did. It was quite well documented that Amorim didn't want to sign mid-season, that he wanted to sign in the summer. Yeah. And I would be shocked if Amorim's not thinking, I may have made the wrong decision here. I should have stood my ground and said, I'll sign for you in the summer. Because with how bad the team have been, like, his style is not what we're seeing from Man United. It's completely different. He hasn't got the players at all. And I don't think you might even have the players in even next season, because you just talked about some of the players that you need to get rid of. You're just not going to get rid of them all. And some of them will just not refuse to leave, because the way you are now is that some of these players are probably on the biggest contracts they're going to have in the rest of their career. And so they're going to hold on to it. We know that more than anything. We've had Newcastle United players that have been on less than Man United players, but they've known that leaving Newcastle United, they're not going to get the same contract anywhere else. And they have held on, and they have held on tightly, and they will not want to leave. And I think some of your players may well be in the same position in the summer. So Jim might not have it as easy as he wants it to. And my worry about Amorim is that he doesn't get the players that he wants. He doesn't, or he's not able to implement the style that he wants. And going into next season, we're seeing similar results. We're seeing similar inconsistencies. And then the fans turn on the manager. And it isn't the manager. He's a good manager. He's a good tactician. He will get the best out of a team, providing he's got the tools to be able to do it. And I'm not quite sure that Man United are going to be able to provide him with the tools. And, we haven't even mentioned the fact that you just announced a 100,000-seater stadium. That I don't know where you're getting that money from, Sam.
Neither do they.
I don't know where you're getting that money from. And, that is only going to make things difficult, even more difficult with regards to revenues and paying transfers and all the rest of it moving forward. So it looks a little bit of a mess at the moment, got to be honest.
But Sam, just kind of coming on one thing, it's been all downhill since you let Dan Ashworth go. But thanks for showing us the money to pick him up off us.
We just wanted to make sure that his garden was nice with all that leave that he got. So you needs his garden it's been down for a while. I mean, the stadium's it's a bizarre one for me because I watched the interview that came out last night. One of the key things was like Radcliffe saying, we were going to be out of cash by November. And they talk about this stadium. I know there's this project going on. And then all of a sudden we're announcing the next day, here we go, this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful stadium. And you're thinking, these two things just don't add up. They just don't line up. There's no money. There's issues. There's 89 million to pay on transfers this week. This year, there's this, we're cutting lunches in the canteen. There's people leaving left, right and centre. There's payoffs and it's a mess. And then suddenly there's this. Now, I know that he was talking that a lot of the regenerative area is part of the government scheme they're hoping. He said it will only go ahead if the government scheme goes ahead for the regenerative area. But the stadium still needs building. And they're not going to want to wait around for sort of a decade to do it. So that will obviously cost more if they want to do it quicker. So, yeah, that to me is kind of a baffling thing. I don't get me wrong. I think it's a good thing. I think it's good that that's what they're aiming for. But it doesn't seem like we're in that position of pain, in that position of change where we've got to sort the mess out first. You can't redecorate until you destroy the room, can you? You can't just start going slapping paint on the walls without getting rid of all the stuff you need to when the rot's set in, and that seems to be where we're at. But as you said, like for the Arsenal game, I'll take a positive for the moment. Maybe there can be a further positive on Thursday, and then I'm sure we'll have a rude awakening at Leicester probably next weekend. But that's something else to worry about for another day. Chris, I know you've got to go. Yes, not a problem. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the invite, mate. Really appreciate it, boys. I'll catch you soon. Damon, good luck after Sunday, mate.
I was thinking the same thing.
You may want to hear this update just before you go.
Oh, go on.
Apparently Trent Alexander-Arnold's gone off with a bad injury.
Yeah, it looked bad. He's put caught under himself. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's gone off with a bad injury. So there's a chance that Liverpool go into the game without a right back on Sunday because apparently Bradley's injured too. Could open up an opportunity for Barnes or whoever plays on the left. Thought you might want to know that before you head off.
Yeah, very nice, very good update. I mean, obviously, I feel sorry for Trent. I'm sure he's okay, but it makes it interesting. And particularly if it's a really bad one, I wonder what happens with that contract and that move to potentially Real Madrid.
Could be interesting.
Yeah. Boys, been a pleasure. Thanks so much, and thanks everyone for watching as well.
See you, Chris.
Hey, Chris, appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, look at that live updates going on. Champions League injuries, everything hot off the press. If only you had a left winger who didn't get suspended the other week, he'd be rubbing his hands together.
Oh yes.
Well, that Liverpool fan one, yeah, that Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
He'd be at Liverpool end, he'd be at Liverpool end.
He better not. He wouldn't live it down if he was.
And there we go. I think we've reached it. It's time, I think, to talk about the EFL Cup preview, which I'm sure will be a bit strange for Damon because there's a big Champions League sort of competition going on at the moment and one to come. But obviously, we will talk the EFL Cup. We'll start with you then, Damon. Obviously, coming up this weekend, Liverpool versus Newcastle in the Cup. How are you seeing Newcastle as an opponent in the Cup final? Obviously, probably a new opponent for you in sort of recent times in terms of a Cup final. What's your thoughts going into the game?
I've always seen Newcastle as a massive threat this season, and it all was like I don't know how that hasn't got in. I don't know how that hasn't got in. I thought that was in. Anyway, so yeah, I do see absolute respect for Newcastle because this season they've been just being on fire. There's some of their players, the midfield, Tonali, Gamerish, Joelinton, even Murphy's had a brilliant season. Gordon being out is a big one. Again, if Trent's out, then They're going to take advantage of that. What they do with that, I don't know. Who do you play out wing? So it's Gordon who goes out and wide.
Was it Barnes
Barnes.
today?
Barnes.
Barnes, yeah, right, okay.
Willock is another
Not as
option.
good as Gordon, but it's still decent winger. So yeah, it is. I do respect them a lot. They're a very, very good team. There's a couple of players that I want at Liverpool. Specifically, Isaac and Lewis Hall. I've been looking at myself, and Lewis Hall on that wing on that side as well. With Trent, that's a very interesting one. But yeah, very respectful side. Very good this season. I think they could be higher up to how good they are. I think they're better than where they are right now in terms. I think they've been better than Chelsea most times of the season. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting. Not usually seen Newcastle get this far, but I think they've got a cup in them. Just hopefully not this season.
It's been a great run, and so I'll come to you, Newcastle lads. Obviously, a couple of years ago, you made the final, a game that was a happy day for me, one very happy day in amongst many not very happy days. But what are you seeing as the difference this year to that year? Because if I recall going into that one, you had that tremendous run of form, and then it dipped off a little bit towards as if kind of all the eyes are on it. And do you think, start you Daz, do you think they've learned a lot from that? And particularly Eddie Howe's learned a lot in how they managed coming up to the final?
Yeah, I think so, because like it was a massive build up towards it, and like after the takeover, things we're going to win something. You know, it was all kind of building up to that crescendo, and then like even the celebration in Trafalgar Square before the actual day of the match, and then also the negative side of things where Bruno had been. Had got a red card. He was missing for a few of the games in the lead up to that. He came back. It was kind of straight into that cup final, and then we were missing Nick Pope and then Dubravka, who was at Man United for part of the season. We ended up playing Karius in goal, so it did not go to plan. And then on the day, we just did not turn up at all. It was and Casemiro had a great game actually, but we did not turn up. So this time we go in as underdogs for sure. And we have no Gordon, we have no Botman, we have no Lewis Hall. But we have two goalkeepers, and it's just who will play, Nick Pope or Martin Dubravka on the day. Martin Dubravka, who has been our cup goalie and who's done so well, and then now Nick Pope has got back in the last few games of the league. If we go with our normal 4-3-3, the team nearly kind of picks itself the options we have now. It'll be depending on the goalie, then will it be Tino, Byrne, Shar, and Trips. Then we've Tonali, Joelinton, and Bruno in midfield, and then you've got Isaac up top with Murphy on the right, and probably Barnes on the left. Now there's options for Willock and a few more, but it's going to be difficult for us, but on the day, I think it can happen. With having Isaac in the team, he's a game changer, and he tends to get the better of Van Dijk. So it'll be all eyes on that battle on the day.
He's definitely the X factor, and I think, say from a neutral perspective, to see Isak doing a final would just would kind of cap off what's been the fantastic couple of seasons really for him at this point. Pete, in the past, you've had probably against Liverpool, or the games I've seen against Liverpool, the most trouble you've caused them has been in those wide areas and taking advantage and being good. Do you think that's a real key part to the final on Sunday?
Yes, because from the news that we've just heard tonight, even more so.
There you go. Yeah,
there are key areas of where we tend to win games. Our games our game plan tends to be played out on either side of the wing. And look, we would always naturally lean to the left-hand side. The reason being is because Anthony Gordon's been that good, particularly in the last year. And so we do lean on him to be able to create and cause problems going that way, to create openings. Jacob Murphy's been a bit of a surprise for us because he's always been a bit of a squad player, but he has actually put the numbers up in goals and assists to create those problems. And I do think they're very much in. I look at Liverpool, even before Trent Alexander's injury tonight, and you always find there's a chance to beat him. There's a chance to get in. Defensively, there are holes in his game, and you can exploit him. You go back to the game end of November at St James's Park, and Gordon really kind of did a number on him a number of times during that game, and actually scored one of the goals by cutting inside on him and scoring a lovely finish to make it 2-1 at the time. And then you look at Robertson, and who looks like he's sort of on the way down. He's declining. He's not that intense and high level as he was a good few years ago. And you've seen him be exploited on the left-hand side. So you're looking like you're thinking there's a chance there. But, when you're missing your main players, when you're missing Gordon, and, we're lacking a right winger, but Murphy's been in a little bit out of form the last few games. You're just thinking, can we just have one game where they're at it? And that's probably the positive thing for me, because watching the game on Monday night, there was big question marks about Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes is a good player, but he hasn't played a lot of football in the last year or so, through injury, through lack of playing time because of Gordon. So it was nice to see him have a decent game. He was active, he was in the box, he was looking to try and score, he was the creator of the goal. That fills him with confidence that if he is the man to lead the line and start, that he's got that under his belt in his locker already, and he can get the beating of them. Now, I don't know who's going to play right back for Liverpool if both Bradley and Trent Alexander are out on Sunday. So it'll be interesting to see who actually plays there. But for me,
Kwanzaa.
Yeah, with Kwanzaa's there now. And we ain't got Gomez either because he's out, isn't it? So
yeah, and I think there was a point in the game where Kwanzaa was playing right back against Newcastle, and he don't. I could be wrong in terms of general, but in that game he didn't play well either on that right hand side.
Yes, I remember that.
And he did get beat time again. Now, Barnes is a different player to Gordon. He won't go at you. He won't attack you down that side, but if you allow him to cut inside, he'll destroy you, because that cut inside and shot from an angle is how he's made his name. And so having someone that's not a traditional right back can actually come into our favour. So I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit more excited about our attacking intent going into Sunday. Of course, we've got to be able to defend the plethora of talent that Liverpool have got. But Sam, I'm glad I've been on with you tonight, because you've. I'm walking away.
Raised your spirits.
A little bit more confident.
87 minutes, is it?
Confident than I was before.
There
the Daz.
It's gonna be an interesting one. And so, but one of the battles, Damo, I'm looking forward to in particular is probably in that midfield. Where I look at Newcastle and that kind of core strength that they've been fantastic. So as you said, Tonali, Jolinton, stuck in there, of course, with Bruno. It's fantastic three against your three, which obviously has been superb, but obviously still playing at the moment, and we'll want to get through and get out of there and get rested. Do you see that as a key element to test that midfield? And how did it go in the game that you saw Liverpool Newcastle earlier this season?
Yeah, our midfield's looking knackered. I mean, playing now, we've got 3 minutes left. Extra time. If we play extra time, that's not good for us at all. That's not good for us at all, because Gravenberch is starting to tire now. He's dropped off massively in the last few games. I think McAllister's kept his. I think he's improved in the last couple of games. He's been class tonight. McAllister's probably one of our best players out there. Szoboszlai, always full of energy. But yeah, that midfield's massive. Gimenez is sensational. Tonali has changed the way Newcastle have been. I think Tonali was a key sign. I think when you signed him, though, I said he's going to be the sign of the season for the Premier League, but obviously then the ban came and sort of threw my guess out on the window. But I think since he's come back, he's changed the way, just his experience and his ability to control the game and his ability to read the game, I think he's allowed Gimenez to be better, and Gimenez is already sensational as it is. But that's the midfield battle's certainly won. I think tonight's a massive impact on Sunday, I think, regarding that midfield, especially because, like I said, Gravenberch is already dropping off in terms of tiredness, and we're not going to not play Gravenberch. It's a cup final. We're not going to play in Endo. I thought it didn't even rest Gravenberch against Southampton. He's not going to not play him against Newcastle in the cup finals. That midfield is certainly that's where games are win and lost anyway, midfield. But yeah, I'm not. That's the one place I'm looking at on Sunday where we could potentially lose because of the tiredness. Everywhere else, I'm quite happy about, but the midfield, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a worry for you guys. I mean, as you say, and I'm sure they'll bring out this old adage about how big the pitch is at Wembley and all the rest of it. when you're talking about the legs when it gets to the weekend, they always bring that out in every cup final. But say one thing you do have, Damon, you have, say, if Newcastle have got the X factor of Isak, you've got the X factor of Salah. Obviously, big game player as well, big sort of moment. Do you think it could be? I mean, cup finals quite often are won by moments, and you certainly have a player there that is in red hot form, and is probably hard to put anybody above him in world football at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, he is a big game player. I think people don't realise that about Salah. When they talk about debates between Salah and other people, they don't realise how much of a big game player he has been. Man United games, Man City games, finals, big competition games in Champions League as well. He's been huge. He's been absolutely huge. So, Sunday is going to be key. And like you said, that pitch is wide. So we're going to be using that width. So he's going to be key. Also, Lewis Hall out, just like you with Trent Alexander-Arnold out, looking at your wingers, taking advantage of that. We could take advantage of Lewis Hall being out. That's massive for them. And with Salah being on that side, it's even more so. Yeah, and he's just been clutch this season, Salah. Even when he's not played well, he's always been clutch. Always come up with a goal, assist or something, and it set up perfectly for him for a final. And obviously, we didn't play him last year, did we? In the final, it was a kids' game for us. We still managed to win the game. So yeah, it'd be nice to see them properly in the final. We haven't seen them for a while in the final.
It'll be interesting. Daz, is Salah's the big worry, surely, from your side into something special from the other side?
Yeah, always is, and it looks like it's going to be Tino Livramento who will be up against him, with Lewis Hall out. Lewis Hall, who had a great game against him, even though he still lost, but he did play really well up against him. I'm just thinking in my head now as this game is going on. Let's say it goes to that extra time. Do we want Liverpool to win then after that? Because if you think of the coefficient as well, because we've got to keep the eye on that fifth spot. And there's still, they'll still want to think, oh, at least we're still in the Champions League as well. Or do we want them to go out and the negative mindset that might come with that? It's out of our hands anyway, whatever happens either way, but it is very interesting. It's
difficult, isn't it? Either way, because there's narratives, isn't there? They win the games, you said they get the positive. They lose, but then if they also lose, they want to respond on Sunday. There's so many different things that come to that. However it kind of comes to it, but and so one thing we have to touch on, Pete, obviously. The long wait for a Newcastle trophy, and that obviously is what you guys are dreaming of on a Sunday night. Is Monday booked out the diary? There's nothing going on, nothing planned.
St. Patrick's Day here in Ireland.
I wish.
I'm going to say drinking after a loss.
For me, it'll be a normal working day, but after my working day's finished, I will be celebrating, that's for sure. But hopefully we'll be celebrating into the night Sunday that we win, because it will for all of us, it will just be history. For a significant part of this fan base, we would have never seen Newcastle United ever win a major trophy. We've won the championship when we got promoted back up to the Premier League, but it's not considered the same. It's not the same as winning a major trophy. And whereas some teams are very particular, they don't see the Carabao Cup as being important, but it is to us. It's a major trophy. We want to win that. It's crucial for our next phase of our build of this project under our new owners. They want to win a trophy and then go on to build and develop on the back of that. It guarantees European football. It has so much importance to us for so many different reasons. It's absolutely crucial that we can go there and be competitive. But the issue is the obvious, is that we're playing against arguably the best team in Europe right now. And you just cannot they cannot get away from the fact that they are a formidable team. I mean, even tonight against a fantastic PSG team, PSG have had to clear 2 or 3 off the line just to stop them from scoring goals tonight. And, PSG's defence is far superior to ours. So you're looking at that. If they bring that same energy on Sunday, it's going to be really hard to stop them. But it's a one-off game. And we've seen down the years the likes of Birmingham, the likes of Wigan that have gone up against the Arsenals and the Man Cities and in cup competitions and won and beat them and been the difference. And you just hope that we can be that team that turns up on the day and creates that moment of magic that just wins the game for Newcastle. And yeah, it just look, it doesn't take away from Liverpool in any way, but I think it would just mean more to us if we won this. Liverpool are going on to lift the Premier League title, but this will just be like a warm-up for them in one sense. For us, this is everything, absolutely everything. And so I really do hope that we first off put a performance in, second off finally score at Wembley. Jeez, I think Showdown Miobi was the last one to score in a cup semi-final, I think it was, and it wasn't even at Wembley. That was at the Millennium Stadium. So the last Newcastle player to score, I believe, was Rob Lee in a semi-final, I believe, against Chelsea at Wembley. And so I'd love Newcastle United to score, put a performance in, and then pray that we can win the match. But look, we're in the final. We deserve to be there. We're in with a chance.
They certainly are, and it's going to be, as I say, for this one going in sort of neutral. It's an exciting final because you know that Newcastle and that history of wanting to win and the fever pitch of fans are going to bring to do it is going to bring something incredible to Wembley, and they're going to go all out to try and win it. And then, as you said, like Liverpool have been so formidable and turn up in cup finals. You know, this is a Liverpool team that have that pedigree, that have that way of getting over the line, and we've seen it. As Damon said last season, you know, the kids they're still there. Do you know what I mean? It's not they don't go away. They don't wilt in cup finals, and it's going to be very, very tight. I think we confirm it is extra time now, Damon. Is that for sure? It's definitely another 30 minutes of the Champions League to go before you can think of an EFL Cup final.
We'll take it. We take whatever.
We'll play kids again. It's fine. We'll play the kids again. It's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine.
Okay.
You've done it before.
Take it. We'll take anything we can get, David, honestly. We really can.
Take anything you can do with it. So Damien, I think Pete just mentioned quickly, we'll wrap up on the cup final shortly. But what's your mindset of it going in as a Liverpool fan? As you said, like the Premier League is the one. That's the dream that is, you know, we're all pretty sure that's happening. So that's a date kind of in your diary coming up. The Champions League, we'll see what happens kind of tonight. But how are you feeling about the Carabao Cup final? Are you excited? How big are you seeing it? What's the view from Liverpool's perspective?
A trophy is a trophy. And I take every single trophy as not with the same sort of look at it, because obviously Premier League and Premier League are the biggest ones. But I want to win every trophy, and I think Slots feels the same way. I think majority of Liverpool fans, I think there's probably Liverpool fans out there that say it's like a Mickey Mouse tournament, what people call it, but it's not. At the end of the day, it's a football. It's a trophy. It's a major trophy. It adds to our legacies, and it also gives us the confidence to go in for the rest of the season. Because if we stay in the Champions League, winning the League Cup in March it instills that sort of belief in everyone else. Look, we've got our first trophy under the belt, Arne Slot's first trophy. That can't be overlooked. That cannot be overlooked. And to do it against a good Newcastle side as well, it can only bleed confidence. So I'm looking at it and thinking, let's do this. And especially when we've got Premier League for a month now, April. We've got Premier League now, so it's a good chance to build some momentum, I think. And yeah, I always take every cup seriously. I mean, last season we won it, and yeah, it's another trophy added to the numbers and become the biggest club in the world. Not in the world, but definitely biggest club in England at the moment. Yeah, that trophy, especially getting another Premier League title.
You've not had a look at our new stadium, have you, Damon? Look at that. Looks fantastic. And the AI pictures look wonderful. I don't know how we're going to fund it, but we're the biggest club in the world. That's what it says. It's going to be exciting nonetheless. We'll see what happens. And say it's going to be a very momentous and close occasion for that. So I would bring up the fixtures, but I realise I don't think I've uploaded them. So bear with me while I click some stuff in the background. Just while I do that, Damon, we'll flip back to the Champions League. What do you need to do in extra time to get past this PSG? So as you said, tired legs. You think?
Scarf.
Well,
Scarf. That'd be nice. Yeah, I mean, if Pete's watching it as well, I mean, the way they've defended the second half, it's just every single body on the line. They've defended really well, really well. I can't complain about that second half. First half, I feel quite poor, but the second half, we've been at them. They're always dangerous on that counter. The pace they've got is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, I'm not really looking forward to this.
It looks like Liverpool have slowed down a little bit.
Toward the end,
the game, but PSG on the counter just still look formidable. They brought Doué on, who's a young attacking midfielder, and he went on an amazing run where he was trying to get through 2 or 3 players. He's lightning quick, and so they've still got a lot of pace and power and directness, and probably a little bit more fresher legs.
Definitely,
to actually go the distance. But yeah, as Daz mentioned, it's probably in our best interest that Liverpool win this. So I'm hoping that they get to penalties. But hopefully, Liverpool win because of the coefficient and Liverpool go through.
Have you told your brother that, Pete?
No, I haven't. I shall not mention that at all. But I think from a coefficient point of view, and of course a confidence point, not necessarily a confidence point of view, but a mentality point of view, because you'll be thinking about the Champions League more than anything else. That'll be your priority. So you'll be happy that you're through the Champions League, and you'll take your eye off the ball for 90 minutes or so, and hopefully help us on our way. What we want on Sunday. Or am I living in hope? Or dreamland, I don't know. I'm not sure.
We'll see what the narrative is when it all works itself out. And so we'll close this up now just with the Premier League table where everybody's sitting after this match and the matches we didn't touch. Obviously, Brighton beating Fulham. Brighton very much put a run together and a well back fighting into that European place. Well, Fulham not a million miles away either, but Brighton certainly want to be keeping an eye on. Crystal Palace have been in good form. They've pushed themselves well up the table, with Ipswich, of course, struggling. That there is a bit of an adrift now at the bottom, 6 points between Ipswich and Wolves, and that is dropping away. Of course, the relegation zone and battle does not go above the current 15th position. We're not having any of that. I can't be dealing with any more depression at the end of the season. We've got elsewhere Aston Villa with a good win at Brentford. They seem to have been buoyed a little bit by their new signings and the additions they've got. Obviously, they're pretty much done in Europe as well. So the Champions League knockouts, looking forward to them. So an exciting time for the end of the season for Aston Villa, I'm sure. Wolves and Everton with a 1-1 draw there down towards the bottom. Chelsea beating Leicester, of course, 1-0, the other game that we didn't touch on as well. Chelsea sat in that 4th position and still very much in that Champions League fight, and Leicester very, very, very much in trouble, that's for sure. So thank you very much to you guys. It's been a fantastic show. Love talking everything about the football for you. And so we'll wrap up now so that Dame can have a nice, relaxing half an hour watching.
There's no relaxing here, mate. There's no relaxing here, mate. Maybe someday, but not today.
You can chill out. But thank you, Dame. Appreciate it, particularly with the Liverpool game on coming and joining us today. Where can everybody find you and check out where you're at?
Yeah, so my channel is Talking Reds -LFC on YouTube and Talking Reds LFC on Twitter, and I do a TikTok every now and then. I try to anyway. But my YouTube is my main goal. Yeah, so Talking Reds for YouTube. Yeah.
Brilliant. Go and check that out, guys. And Pete, thank you so much as well. Brilliant, you coming on. Really, really appreciate that. Where can everybody find you? And of course, where can everybody find your podcast?
Yeah. Both myself and Daz, we're part of Loaded Mag NUFC. So we're on YouTube. You'll see us promoting shows on Twitter, or X is what you call it now, Instagram, TikTok. you'll find us all over the place. But yeah, we're just three lads from different parts of the country or a different country talking Newcastle United. So if you're interested in coming and joining along, come and join us. We do have a panel show every week with different fans from different clubs in the Premier League. So we do get different fans of other clubs coming in and joining the show. So all is more than welcome in our community. So yeah, come and join us, give us a sub, and yeah, get involved in the conversation. So it's been a pleasure, Sam. Thank you for having us on, mate. Really appreciate it.
Magic, very welcome. Thank you. Check all that out, guys. And of course, Daz, where everybody find you if it's not on the podcast as well.
They'll find me the same place as Pete. Well, I'm not in Leicester. I'm in Galway in the Republic of Ireland. But like as Pete said, on YouTube and across all the socials, we're also on podcasts across Spotify and Apple Music and so on, and for iTunes and so on. And we also, as well as the top table talk and the panel show that Pete mentioned, we also have our preview shows. It's called Away Days. So we bring in a fan channel from the opposition, and we go through a detailed discussion on the upcoming games. And actually something for everyone as well is keeping out in the summer. Our fully loaded transfer shows. We did get some really big guests on. It is mainly Newcastle focused, but we might broaden a bit as we go into the summer. So yeah, find us on Loaded Mag in UFC. Can't go too far wrong.
Magic and perfect. And thank you guys again. And of course, you can find us. We are the Absolute Football Podcast. We were and we are. We will continue to milk this until the next Football Content Awards. We are the best new content creator awarded at this year's.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And so we are continuing to milk it. Every week we will continue to shove this up. Something we're very proud of. We've obviously got multiple shows as well. This is the Premier League show that is on a Tuesday. We have hashtag Team Chaos, as we call them, on a Wednesday, covering absolutely women's football with Freya and the team. They'll be back tomorrow night. On a Thursday, we've got absolutely lower league with the Rowdy Rabble, with the birthday girl herself. Shah will be there this week talking everything from EFL Championship, League One, League Two, National League North and National League South. So make sure you've got your beverages ready for that, because there's quite a bit to cover, no doubt about it. You can check us out on Twitter, as we call it, Absolute Ball Pod, YouTube Absolute Football Podcast, and Twitch Absolute Football Podcast. TikTok, we are Absolute Football Pod. Instagram, Absolute Football Podcast _ we are on Blue Sky as well, Absolute Football, and probably on Facebook, the Absolute Football Podcast, and all the audio stuff as well. There's so many socials. Who knows? We're probably, just type us in. We'll be there somewhere. You can find us. But again, thank you to everybody. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you to Graham as well. Great show with the new guys. Really enjoyed it. Thank you, Graham. Spenny Fan Chris, thank you so much for the show, guys. Take care, everybody. And for everybody, have a great week. Enjoy the football. And let's see what happens on Sunday. Take care. Catch you soon.